det. Vi får nogle af
For the sake of brevity, I want to highlight mainly two elements that were remarkable about the narratives of the young people I interviewed for my study. Elements that form the basis for the trajectory of my work. Firstly, for each of the narratives or stories that I collected for my research, there were layers upon layers of experiences of deprivation, humiliation, and degradation. These were shared narratives about a past and a present life in an environment in which signs of depravity were visible all around. Secondly, what my investigation revealed was the experience of the murderous event as if it was not real. Some of the young people I interviewed about their role in the murders described confronting the reality of what they were involved in only the day after the incident. The main point I want to make about my study concerns the crucial link between violence and trauma. It is now well established in the field of psychology that traumatic experience plays a significant role in the development of patterns of violence, which sometimes manifest in seemingly unbreakable cycles of violence. The link between traumatic past and violence has been found in individuals who have been severely abused, as well as in groups that have suffered trauma collectively, such as systematic abuse and humiliation over an extended period. What is at the heart of the argument about the link between trauma and violence is the contention that trauma leads to disruption of the protective aspects of functioning. Some of the most critical aspects that are affected by trauma are those that enable individuals to engage reflectively with their actions. Trauma, especially trauma experienced collectively, re-emerges again and again in symbolic forms such as violence acted out against others, or sometimes directed at one's group or family. Suggesting that people must forget the past creates great conceptual mischief. This issue of the problem of repetition of trauma and violence is the main reason that I believe the conversation about transformation remains critical in our institutions and in our society. The denial of the past, or its silencing, unfortunately, plays itself out in the relational repertoires that breed mistrust in our relationships. Those who are silenced by a dominant majority, or a dominant minority for that matter, who have no patience with the careful process that transformative dialogue requires, may feel alienated. The consequence is that they may either withdraw into unpleasant silence or act out destructively. Earlier in my presentation, I spoke about the two possible outcomes of trauma as the acting out and the working through of trauma. The TRC opened up a starting point for this process of working through by creating space for the narration of trauma, by recognizing the humanity of victims and perpetrators alike for the sake of a transformed political culture and society. The TRC framed its process in a way that has left us with great insights. However, we know that the work of reparative healing still has to take place. What is needed is, firstly, a process of transformative dialogue that goes beyond the binaries of victim-perpetrator. Secondly, such dialogue should lead to true transformation of lives, transcend not only the traumatic past, but also break the cycles of its transgenerational repetition. This museum, the effort here is to unearth the past. Any museum that the purpose is to represent the past and to unearth the past. But I think in terms of its meaning for the workers on the farm, for them, the complicated legacies of the past, which were never honored or validated or given dignity in any way, were now presented for the first time. From the time of the Khoi people, who were the first to live on the farm in the area, to the arrival of the Dutch in the 1600s. And these stories are presented both in this museum. The importance of representing the stories of the families on the farm validates them and helps them to reconstruct their identities that were destroyed by the humiliation of subjugation. Oral history of the families and their ancestral roots revisits the past, honors it, and creates the space for the sharing of new narratives. This is the essence of this dialogue about transformation, honoring the memory and the stories of people from all sides of the history of the conflict, giving them center stage, presenting them in a manner that people will hear on all sides. The purpose is not about judging the past, rather the purpose is about reflecting on the past. This is very important when we think about this work on the farm. I really think that this example from Solms Delta illustrates this essence of real transformation that is still missing in our country. Government officials, please listen. Please visit the Solms Delta and see what happens when people are doing the plowing back of the profits to give dignity to the people who work their land.